Hi everybody, it's Gail from Gail's Bookish Things. I'm back to do another ink of the week with you. This will be week 4, and last night I selected 6 potential inks. Some of these are kind of repeats from the previous drawings, but I'm eager to try them for an extended time, so I put them back in the mix. But I have the Birmingham Amber Ale. You can see through a little bit. I have another one on the page before, but I think we can get the general idea here. Birmingham Weathered Brick, Sailor Manyo Haha, Pen BBS Strawberry Milkshake, and then Sailor Manyo Kuzu. I think that ink bottle kind of had a spill on it, but I think that's what that was. And then Noodler's Le Couleur Royale. Excuse me, again, allergy, throat. So what I want to do this week is use 2 pens. I've been using my Kaweco Brass Sport with a broad nib. I want to also do ink in one of my TWSBIs. I have found that which is kind of a no-brainer, I guess, but I'm getting, I just want a little more variety in the type of response I get from the inks and different pens. So it's been good to be really steady with one pen, use the ink all week with this pen in different papers in different notebooks, on different papers in different notebooks. But I think if I have a little more variety, it'll be a better comparison. So this TWSBI is a 1.1 stub nib. And then I have 2 more Kawecos here, which I won't repeat because I'm using that one for my ink testing. So, it doesn't really matter, but I kind of think these colors would be fun in the clear. It really doesn't matter. I'm not all about matching up the color ink with the color pen anymore. I was at first, but I'm just trying to think of what I want to do. I have my purple one also inked up now, so maybe I'll just do the blue. I'm kind of thinking blue, so we will use whatever ink is drawn then in 2 pens so that I'm getting 2 different kinds of nibs with the same ink and 2 different kinds of pens. I think that'll serve as a better comparison for me. I will ink these up. I'll be back later to show, well, I guess I don't need to show that in the ink right away. I'll do that in my evaluation. I'll also show you my evaluation from the previous week. But before we do that, and I'll have to come back in a couple hours actually, but you won't know that because of the magic of pausing and restarting. I'm headed to church here in a little bit, so I will do all this when we get back. But I wanted to get a start while I had a few minutes. So I'm tossing, I'm not looking, I'm grabbing one. Let's see what number it is. Dun, 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 dun. I think it's a 2. Yes. Whoa. Okay, number 2. So Birmingham Weathered Brick. That is an ink sample I got from Donna. It's South Shore paper. Thank you, Donna. I'm going to ink up these pens then, these 2 pens with that, and I will add it to my currently inked pens, but these are the 2 I'm going to focus on throughout the week to get a real good opinion formed, personal opinion. Obviously that's what an opinion is, but an evaluation that suits me and the kinds of combinations I like in pen and ink. So Birmingham Weathered Brick. Have it set aside over here. There's enough ink here where I can put some in the Kaweco and some in the TWSBI. Some of my samples are getting low, and I eliminated those from even being part of my ink of the week drawings because there's just not enough. That's happened already where I've chosen one and then I put it in the Kaweco, and then all of a sudden I'm like out of ink in a day or 2. So this will allow me at least several days trial of the ink. It looks really, it's kind of hard to tell in the vial what they're going to look like, for sure. I've noticed that to be where it's very often the case. So that one will go in there. And then these I'm still really curious about too. The Manyo Kuzu, if I'm saying that right. That's a really neat looking color on this Stalogy paper, so I may go back to that one eventually too. Anyway, that's all for now. Back in a flash, and we'll talk more then. Bye. Okay, here we are with last week's evaluation. I started with the Organic Studio Nitrogen. This has a really fun sheen. It looks blue, but then I doubt it's showing up, but maybe it is. It looks red in certain angles in the light. So I liked that. My general evaluation process includes just saying, do I like it, do I dislike it, or do I like it and would consider buying? Because for me, that would probably be one of the big things to consider. It is one of the big things because I don't want to just accumulate inks that I feel so about. I want to like the inks that I use. So that's a good thing about sampling, I think. You can buy files or generous pen friends, share them. So it's a really good way of mixing in some variety with your fountain pen writing without spending a lot of money. So a thing I noticed in the Kaweco Brass Sport writing with the Organics Studio Nitrogen was that it flowed very wet, smooth. I wrote juicy, doesn't create a huge line in my writing. Very nice to write with, also on the Cosmo Airlight, and that also broadens the lines. When I write with that, it just absorbs it, and your writing looks maybe thicker than it would be on a different paper, which I like with certain inks. I love it with certain inks. It makes it super big, though, I've noticed. Anyway, that was a nice thing about it, but what was strange is, again, I have this flow issue with my Kawecos. And people have commented on that, and I can't remember exactly what everybody said. Somebody suggested I needed some work done to the nib. But what I find is you pen experts can elaborate on this, but it's almost like it just dries out, and so it like runs dry, like I'm writing too quick or something, or maybe I stored the pen wrong. But if I push in the piston or the converter thingy to create a little more pressure, then it starts flowing nicely again. And that's good to realize that solution. I've also tried some of the White Lightning in some of the inks, and that works wonderfully. But for just not adding an additive and just writing with the ink, it seems to be a little bit of a problem with the Kawecos. So it's easily remedied, but it also, I don't even want to word it that way. It's not a hardship. It's a little inconvenient to keep doing that, but I do love writing with this pen, so I guess I'm willing to do that. And I'm also wondering if the prolonged time uncapped is just drying out and it needs a little charge or something there. So it's a wonderful experience, though, writing with this pen. And so why I wanted to add a TWSBI also is to see if it's the fact that this is a converter and this is the piston filled. So maybe that will make a difference in how the ink comes out of the pen with prolonged writing. Anyhow, getting back on track, I said I generally am not real drawn to blue inks, although in high school and stuff I always liked the blue Bic pen, but I guess I just don't reach for that. Although I'm finding, they're really pretty, so I was thinking the sheen was pretty. It was very nice to write with. Did fade to this much lighter blue as the pen was running out of ink. Almost like it was an entirely different ink. That seemed really unusual to me. So I did not have enough of the Organic Studio Nitrogen to do a lot of writing last week. The little bit I did, I liked it, But I think that my personal opinion is, although this is a beautiful sheen and it's nice to look at, I don't know that I would want to go back and reread things with the sheen on there. Like that would just be distracting to me if I'm wanting to focus on what I wrote versus just the beauty of the ink. So midweek or a couple days in, I tried the J. Urban Eclat de Saphir. Brilliant Sapphire, Dazzling Sapphire is the kind of translation I came up with, but if someone has a more accurate one, please share that in the comments below. This was a beautiful springtime purple. It makes me think of grape soda or grape Kool-Aid. It makes me think of violets. We have pretty little violets that grow along our trails and our public park trails, kind of like a wildflower thing. Reminds me of that very springy, maybe an Easter egg color. I like it a lot. I said it was a pretty color without sheen, or at least I wasn't getting sheen. I don't know if it's supposed to have it. It felt very smooth on the Tomoe River paper. And again, I commented on the converter possibly being an issue because this darker, almost purple, would fade to a more pastel the longer I wrote. So again, we've talked about this in videos and people have commented, so I'm just trying to tweak what works. It starts out much darker as I wrote here, and I like the darker, wetter feel that I'm getting at the beginning of these inks, and then as it seems to dry, then I'm like, push that, whatever that thing is inside the converter down, and plunger maybe. Then it went back to writing dark and glided along the paper a little bit more in a manner that I like writing. But these have been super fun experiments, so I will probably press on for a little bit longer. I'm using up some samples, and some of them are getting small. This is my sample stash now, so it's at a good manageable amount where I feel like I can compare things and think about them a little bit, and it's been fun. So next week we will evaluate the Birmingham weathered brick, how it works on the various papers, how I like writing with it long term. Part of my thing is just that I get restless with a color or an activity. I'm like, okay, what's the next thing? You know, I want to try a new ink. It's like I really like the inks at first. It's fun. I'm like, this is getting boring. I just like the variety, I guess. Not a bad thing, but I also think I'd like to be at a place where I had, like, I don't know, 5, 6 favorite inks that I wrote with all the time. Maybe that's the part of me that wants to narrow things down, but then the other part of me likes the variety. So we're all unique people, aren't we? Trying to figure myself out still. Okay, that's it for today. I don't think I'll come back with these inked like I said I would. I haven't done that yet. I will do that off camera, and then we'll just talk about it next week when we do the evaluation. Thanks for watching. Have a great Sunday. Take care, and we'll see you next time.